I feel like we've all been there.
Yeah.
Where you're trying to have a nice, peaceful stroll.
Right.
And your dog, on the other hand, has decided that they are a sled dog. And you are the sled, and you're just holding on for dear life.
Yep.
So how do we transform that experience into something that is enjoyable for both human and canine alike?
Absolutely.
That's our deep dive today.
I love it.
And we are turning to some expert advice to Pet MD to help us guide us.
Awesome. I'm excited about this one. Leash training is a big one.
Yeah.
It feels like one of those never-ending puzzles of dog ownership, but it really doesn't have to be.
And you know what I found really interesting about this Pet MD guide is that they don't really even frame it as training.
Right.
It's more about connection.
Yes, absolutely.
Like that's the foundation.
Yeah, that's the foundation. They really emphasize how important that bond is with your dog.
Yeah.
Especially because for some dogs, the leash itself can actually be a point of stress.
Oh, interesting.
Yeah, you think about if you're used to having free rein and then all of a sudden it's like you're restricted, it can be kind of jarring.
Totally.
A total mood killer.
Yeah, or it's like being handed a parking ticket when you're already late.
Exactly. So that underlying trust that you've built with your dog is actually what allows them to relax on the leash. Because they're not feeling trapped.
Right.
They know that you're just trying to keep them safe.
Okay, so we've got the relationship part down. Now what about the actual, gear?
Yeah.
I'll be honest, I've always just used, a standard leash.
Sure.
But this article's opening my eyes to a whole world of possibilities.
Yeah, there's, a lot more out there now.
Okay.
It's not just your dad's leash from, 1980.
Right.
This article was talking about harnesses.
Okay.
And back clip harnesses are good for calmer dogs, the ones that aren't pulling.
Okay.
But if you do have a puller, they were recommending a dual clip harness.
Okay.
It's longer leashes.
Longer leashes.
Yeah.
Now that, to me, sounds counterintuitive.
Really?
Yeah, because I would think, oh, well, if they're pulling already and I give them more leash, that's just going to make it worse.
Yeah, no, that makes sense. You think, give them an inch and they'll take a mile.
Exactly.
But think about it from the dog's perspective.
Okay.
When it's a short leash, there's constant tension.
Right.
And that can trigger something called an opposition reflex.
What is that?
It's basically they're hardwired to pull against restraint.
Oh, wow.
It's just like a natural instinct. So if you give them a little more freedom, they're not constantly feeling that pressure.
Right.
So they're less likely to pull.
So it's not about yanking them back, it's about preventing it from happening in the first place.
Exactly.
Okay, that's really interesting.
Yeah, it's all about, finding that sweet spot.
Okay.
Where they have freedom, but you're still guiding.
Right.
And it really does reduce that urge to pull.
Okay, so I'm sold on the long leash.
Okay, good.
Got my harness, I'm ready to go. Where do we even begin?
Right.
Do we just head straight to the dog park?
Oh my God.
And hope for the best?
The dog park.
Yeah.
I mean, if you're feeling really brave, maybe, but
I'm picturing it now, total chaos, squirrels
everywhere.
doing backflips.
Yeah.
Dogs running around like they own the place.
It's a lot of stimulation for a dog that's learning to walk on a leash.
Right. Yeah, maybe not the best training ground.
Not the most controlled environment.
So we're starting slow, somewhere calm, familiar.
Exactly. The article actually really emphasized how important that is, especially when you're first starting out.
Okay.
So think your house, the backyard, a quiet street.
So minimal distractions.
Exactly.
Got it.
You want them focused on you, the leash, the bond.
Right, not on every single leaf blowing in the wind.
Exactly.
Okay, so we're laying that foundation.
Yes.
And here's where I thought things got really interesting.
Okay.
This guide actually recommends starting the training off leash.
Yeah, I know it seems a little counterintuitive at first.
Totally.
But it makes sense when you really think about it.
Okay.
So instead of thinking of it as, leash training, think of it as just reinforcing those basic good walking habits.
Right, we're hitting the rewind button a little bit.
Exactly.
Going back to basics.
Yes.
So they learn, okay, I walk next to my human.
Exactly.
This is the correct formation.
Right. You're the leader.
Right.
They're following your cues.
Right.
And then when you add the leash, they're like, okay, this is just we've been practicing.
Okay, so it's about setting them up for success.
Exactly.
Got it. But obviously the leash is going to have to make an appearance at some point.
Of course, of course.
So any tips for making that transition go smoothly?
Yes, and this goes back to what we were talking about before, positive associations.
Okay.
When you first introduce that leash, make it a party.
Okay, so we're talking like full-on party mode.
Well, I don't know about like streamers and confetti,
Yeah.
but make it fun, make it positive.
Okay.
Treats, praise, all the good stuff.
So like no sneaking up on them with the leash like it's a scary thing.
No leash ambushes.
Okay.
Let them sniff it. Let them get used to it.
Okay.
You can even just have them wear it around the house for a little bit.
Okay.
Just so they're like, okay, this is normal. This is fine.
It's becoming part of their everyday wardrobe.
Exactly.
Okay.
And then, gradually work your way up to actually going for walks.
And I imagine, like with most things, patience is key.
Oh, for sure.
Because some dogs are going to be like, cool, loosh, whatever.
Right. Totally unfazed.
And others are going to be like, what is this thing you're attaching to me?
Yeah. You're going to get the side eye for sure.
Right. So we've got to meet them where they are.
Absolutely. And that's something that the article really emphasized was
Okay.
if you're struggling, if your dog is showing signs of anxiety,
Right.
there's no shame in calling it a professional.
Okay.
A certified dog trainer can really help you with those individual needs.
Right. Because every dog is different.
Yeah.
Okay. So we've got the groundwork, we've got the leash, we're ready to go. But what does a successful walk even look like?
Okay.
I'll be honest with you, in my mind, it was always like, okay, the dog is perfectly healed at my side.
Right.
But this article suggests maybe that's not the be-all and end-all.
It's not just about being a drill sergeant.
Right.
It's about enjoying the walk as well.
Okay, so we're loosening the reins a little bit.
A little bit.
Right. It shouldn't feel like a military operation.
Exactly.
Heel, left face.
Yeah, you're not in boot camp.
So we want it to be enjoyable, both for us and the dog.
Yes, exactly.
So sniffing is okay?
Sniffing is more than okay.
Okay.
Sniffing is encouraged.
Interesting.
Because for dogs, they experience the world through their noses.
That's so true.
It's like their way of, reading the newspaper, catching up on the gossip.
I love that. Yeah.
It's mentally enriching. It stimulates.
With their social media.
Exactly.
They're like, ooh, what's Brenda been up to? I smell it on this tree over here.
Exactly.
Okay, I'm with you.
And you know what they say?
What's that?
A tired dog is a well-behaved dog.
That's very true.
And a good sniff session
Yeah.
can be just as tiring as a run around the park.
Oh, interesting. So it's mental and physical exercise all in one.
Exactly.
Okay, so sniffing is good. Got it.
And sniffing is great. Encourage the sniff.
But let's get real.
Okay.
We've all been there where, you're feeling good about the walk. You're like, oh, okay, we're doing this. This is great. And then bam. There's something I don't even know.
Like a backflip off a tree limb.
It's like they know. They're like, time to mess with these dog walkers over here.
I swear they do it on purpose.
So the dog is obviously going to try and take off after the squirrel.
Oh.
What do we do in that moment?
Right. So pulling,
Yeah,
it's probably the #1 challenge
for sure.
that dog owners face.
Totally.
And it makes sense, right?
Okay.
Your dog is trying to communicate with you.
Okay.
They're excited. They're in a hurry. Maybe they think you're walking too slow.
Yeah, it's like when you're behind that person who's walking really slow and you're like, can you go any slower?
Exactly. Exactly. You just want to get around.
I'm like, obviously, we can't have our dogs yelling at us every 2 seconds.
Come on, move it. So how do we manage the pulling?
Yeah.
Well, the guide suggested a technique
Okay.
that I thought was interesting.
Okay.
They called it becoming a tree.
Becoming a tree.
Becoming a tree.
Becoming a tree.
I'm intrigued.
I know, it sounds a little weird.
Okay.
But basically, the moment your dog starts pulling,
Yeah.
you stop.
Okay.
You become completely still, like a tree.
So I'm not yanking them back.
No yanking, no pulling,
Okay.
no yelling,
Just stillness.
just stillness.
Okay, so I've transformed into a tree.
Yes.
The dog's probably looking at me like, what are you doing?
Right, why have we stopped?
Okay, what happens next?
So they'll probably be a little confused at first, but eventually the pulling will stop.
Okay.
They'll look back at you,
Right?
and that's your cue to mark the behavior.
A simple yes, a clicker, whatever you use,
Okay.
and then reward,
Okay.
treat, praise. You know the drill.
So we're rewarding that checking in that, okay, mom or dad has stopped, maybe I should stop too.
Exactly.
Not just charging ahead.
Exactly. You're rewarding the loose leash,
Got it.
and over time,
Yeah.
they start to understand,
Okay.
pulling gets me nowhere.
Okay.
Loose leash, we keep moving.
Okay.
More sniffing, more fun.
We're teaching them the art of the pause.
I love that.
Yes. Like instead of just like going with your first instinct, you know,
exactly.
Take a second, check in.
Be present.
And you'll be rewarded.
Yes, exactly.
I like it.
I'm glad you like it.
So it sounds like really it all comes back to that connection.
It always does.
Like we said at the beginning.
Right from the start.
It's not about, you know, dominance. It's not about like forcing them into submission. It's like...
It's a partnership.
It's a partnership.
It's about working together.
We're on a team.
Exactly.
And if our goal is to enjoy these walks together, then we need to teach them how to be the best walking buddy that they can be.
And they need to teach us a thing or two, too.
Well, that's a good point.
Right.
We focused a lot on, like, our energy as the human and, like, how that impacts the dog.
Right.
But I'm sure their energy impacts us, too.
Oh, absolutely.
I'd like to think that my dog is, like, you know, making me a calmer, more patient person.
Yeah.
But, you know, maybe not all the time.
Maybe. Maybe not.
Something to think about.
Something to ponder.
Okay, well, on that note, I think we'll wrap things up here.
Feels good.
Thanks for diving deep with us today.
This was great.
And we'll see you next time.
Thank you for your watching. If you find this video is helpful to you, please share it with your family and friends. Leave us a like and subscribe to our channel. And turn on the bell, that way you don't miss every single one of our videos. So that's for today's video. See you next time.